Essay 530, audit sampling. Now, audit sample you already know. Auditor, he cannot perform audit procedures on the entire population, right? Because it will take a lot of time. So what auditor will do? Auditor will select the sample and he will perform audit procedures on that sample, right? So sample will be selected from the population, right? So what is meant by a sample? Sample is representation of the population. Why sample will be selected? Because auditor cannot test all the items. Just like in case of blood test, if you wanted to test the blood, sample of your blood will be taken and a test will be performed on that, right? They will not perform test on your entire blood, right? Just like that, auditor will take sample from the population and he will perform audit procedures on the sample. See, audit sampling means application of audit procedures to less than 100% of the items. Okay, 100% of the items is the population. You are applying audit procedures to less than 100% of the items within a population, such that all sampling units have chance of selection in order to provide the auditor with reasonable basis on which to draw the conclusion about the entire population. Okay, based on the results of sampling, auditor will draw conclusion on the entire population. Okay, next, sampling risk. Obviously, since you are not performing audit procedures on entire population, there will be risk, right? There will be risk. That risk will be known as sampling risk, right? If you have audited entire population, you would have found out misstatements in the entire population. Since you are not auditing the entire population, you are only taking the sample, and on that sample you are performing audit procedures and you are finding misstatements and you are projecting these misstatements to entire population. Obviously, this projection of misstatements might not be entirely correct. You might miss out some of the misstatements, right? So there is always sampling risk will be present if you use audit sampling. See, risk that auditor's conclusion based on a sample may be different from the conclusion if entire population were subjected to the same audit procedure, right? Let's say, for example, there are 1000 debtors. Of those 1000 debtors, you have taken a sample of 100 debtors and you have sent external confirmation to 100 debtors. Of that sample, you have found that there is only misstatement in one debtor balance. So of 100 items, there is one misstatement. You will project this to entire population. There is 1000 debtors. So if there is one misstatement in 100 items, there will be 10 misstatements in entire population, right? So based on this, you will give your opinion. But there might be 50 misstatements in the entire population. Who knows? You have not audited entire population, right? So this is sampling risk, the risk that you will provide different audit opinion based on your audit procedures on sample. If you have applied the same audit procedures on entire population, might be your opinion might be different, right? This is known as a sampling risk. So in case of test of controls, you might say that controls are operating effectively. See, controls are more effective than they actually are. This will affect efficiency of the audit. Sorry, this will affect effectiveness of the audit. See, this will affect the effectiveness of the audit. Actually, controls are not working effectively, but you are saying controls are working effectively. So you are giving a wrong opinion. You are not achieving your objective, so effectiveness will be affected. I have already told you what is effectiveness, what is efficiency while discussing essay 315. Okay, while discussing audit risk, the same diagram I have told you, but with respect to test of details I have told you. right? See, controls are less effective than they actually are. Okay, controls are very much working effectively in actual, but you are saying that controls are not working effectively. This will affect the efficiency of the auditor. Next, in case of test of details, there are material misstatements do not exist when in fact they exist. Okay, actually there are material misstatements in the financial statements, but you are saying that there are no material misstatements because you have audited only sample. Based on the results of the sample, you concluded that there are no material misstatements, but there are material misstatements. This will again affect effectiveness of the audit because you are not achieving your objective, right? Effectiveness is affected. Next type of risk is there are no material misstatements present in the financial statements, but you are telling that material misstatements exist, okay, when in fact they don't exist. This will affect the efficiency. Why? Because to prove that no material misstatements exist, you have to apply more time. Okay, you have to spend more time, you have to utilize more resources. Okay, since more resources are being utilized, it will affect the efficiency of the audit. This will be clear to you if you have properly listened the essay 315 class. There I have clearly told you what is efficiency, what is effectiveness, what is inappropriate opinion, what are the scenarios, all that I have told you. The same chart, okay, this chart, if you remember, we have discussed in essay 315 also. Okay, next, sampling methods. Basically there are, broadly speaking, two sampling methods. One is statistical sampling, one is non-statistical sampling. Okay, in statistical sampling there are further methods, in non-statistical sampling there are further methods. Okay, basically statistical sampling means nothing but it is a scientific method of sampling. The probability theory will be involved and randomness will be involved in case of statistical sampling. See, random selection and use of probability theory. Okay, statistical sampling is more scientific method of sampling, and another one is non-statistical sampling. Okay, this non-statistical sampling is not a scientific method. Okay, you'll just select the sample based on your judgment, that means your experience or haphazardly. Okay, just like that you will select the sample, just like Mr. Bean is selecting the sample, like that you will select. That is non-statistical sampling. If you see, in statistical sampling we are having random sampling. Random sampling means you will select a sample based on random number table generators. Okay, if you go and search in the Google random number generators, there will be various tools wherein if you just refresh, it will keep on generating random numbers. So with the help of that tool, you will select the sample. Okay, you will click refresh. If it shows 10, the 10th item you will select as sample. Next you will click again refresh. If it shows 18th item, you select as the sample, right? With the help of random number selectors, you will select the sample. That is known as random sampling. Okay, next, stratified random sampling. So in case of this stratified random sampling, what you will do is the entire population you will divide it into strata. Strata means all the items which are having same characteristics will be kept under one strata. Okay, let's say for example you are auditing debtors balance. Okay, now you have divided the entire debtors into following stratas. The debtor value less than 1 lakh rupees is one strata. Okay, next, debtor value 1 lakh to some 10 lakh, another strata. Like this you have divided entire debtors into stratas. Okay, so the debtors of, so the the items in the strata will have similar characteristics. So now you have divided entire population into strata. Now from these stratas randomly you will select some of the samples. Okay, again you can apply random number tables, and from this strata you can generate random items for sampling basis. That is stratified random sampling. Okay, you have first of all divided the population into stratas, then from that strata randomly you are selecting the sample. Next, cluster sampling. Now in this cluster sampling, entire population you are dividing them into clusters. Now clusters need not have same characteristics. Okay, all the items in the cluster will not have same characteristics. Okay, you will just to group some of the items into clusters. Okay, there will not be any rule like stratas, there will not be any rule for dividing the items into clusters. Okay, just like that you will make some clusters, and from these clusters you will randomly select the clusters for sampling. Okay, you will not select items in the clusters randomly. Okay, let's say there are 10 clusters. Okay, in each cluster there are some items. Now you will randomly select the entire clusters, 5th cluster, 7th cluster, 10th cluster, like this the entire cluster you will select, and all the items of the cluster will be subjected to sampling. Okay, whereas in case of strata, from the strata itself you are again selecting, but here in case of cluster the entire cluster you are selecting as sample. There is a difference. Okay, that is a cluster sampling. Next, systematic sampling. In case of systematic sampling you will follow a systematic method. Like let's say there is 1000 items in population. Now you wanted to select 50 items as sample. Now what you will do is 1000 divided by 50. What did you get? 1000 divided by 50 is like yeah, 20, right? 20 or 200? Sorry, 50, right? So you will get 50, not 20, 50, right? Now is it 50? Sorry, 20 only, not 50, 20. Sorry. So you got 20. Now each 20th item will be selected as sample. Okay, see sometimes what will happen is you will confuse even with small calculations, right? Yeah, it is 20 only, so it happens. So now in the entire population the 20th item, so from 1 to 20 the 20th item selected as sample. Next from 20 to again 20th item, that is 40th item selected as sample. Next 42 again 20th item, 60th item selected as sample. So this is systematic selection. Next, monetary unit sampling. In this monetary unit sampling what will happen is for each item you will assign a weight. Okay, based on monetary value of the item you will assign a weight. Okay, if let's say there are debtors, now the weight that you will assign to debtor whose balance is 1 crore will be high, whereas weight that you will assign to a debtor whose balance is 10,000 will be less. So based on weights that you have assigned, the probability of that debtor being selected into the sampling will increase. Okay, that is monetary unit sampling, which is a weighted value based sampling. Okay, see assigning weights is simple. First of all what you will do is you will take total value of debtors. Let's say total value of debtors is 1 crore rupees, total value of debtors. Now from this you have to assign the weights. The value of debtor of a particular person, Mr. A, is 20 lakh rupees. Now the weight that you will assign to that person is 20% is the weight that you have assigned. If the value of debt of another debtor is let's say 1 lakh rupees, the weight that you will assign is 1%. Like this, based on the debt amount, you will assign the weights and then you will apply the sampling. So if the debtor who is having highest weight is having high probability of being selected into the sample. Okay, that is monetary unit sampling. Next, in non-statistical sampling, you have block selection. See, block selection is simple. Let's say there are invoices, 1000 invoices. Now you will select a particular block of invoice, like sale invoice of November and December. That block you have selected. So you have excluded the invoices of all remaining months. You have just selected a particular block of invoices. That is known as block selection. This is not a scientific method. Next, haphazard selection. Haphazard means just like that. Okay, just like Mr. Bean is selecting here, like that haphazardly you will select without following any structure technique. Next, judgmental sampling. In case of judgmental sampling, auditor will use his past experience. Okay, based on his judgment, based on his past experience, auditor will select the sample. That is judgmental sampling. Okay, these are different methods of sampling. You can find the same. Okay, the explanation of all these samples I have given here. I have explained you all of them, right? Next, non-statistical sampling. These also I have explained you. See, this is important. Of all these sampling methods, the principal methods of sampling. Okay, what are the principal methods of sampling? There are 5 principal methods of sampling as per SA 530. First one is random sampling, systematic sampling, monetary unit sampling, haphazard sampling, block selection. Okay, of all these methods, these 5 methods are recognized as principal methods of sampling as per SA 530. See, they might ask you a question in the examination. Explain principal methods of sampling. Then you have to explain these 5 sampling methods. Okay, these are 5 principal methods of sampling. Next, steps in audit sampling. See, there are 5 steps in audit sampling. Just basically what you will do is, the first step is you will select the sample. That is first step. Second step is you will apply audit procedures to the sample. That is second step. After applying audit procedures, you will get misstatements, right? So you will evaluate those misstatements. That is the third step. Now these misstatements, you will project them to the entire population. That is projection of misstatements is fourth step. And fifth step is you will evaluate whether sampling is has worked properly to you or not. That is evaluation. These are the 5 steps in audit sampling. Let's see. We will see step by step. Okay, step by step I have prepared a separate slide. See, step number 1. What is step number 1? Determining sample design, sample size and sample selection. See, sample design. Sample design means which items has to be included into the sample. For this purpose, consider purpose of audit procedure and characteristics of population. Based on that, you will design the sample. Next, sample size. Okay, how many items have to be included into the sample? Determine a sample size sufficient to reduce sampling risk to an acceptable level or acceptably lower level. Okay, you have to include that many number of items into the sample so as to reduce sample risk to a acceptably lower level. Okay, so here judgment of the auditor will be involved. Next, sample selection. Each unit in the population shall have equal chance of being selected. Okay, so this way you have selected the sample. After selecting the sample, step 2 is to perform audit procedures, right? Perform audit procedures on what? On sample that you have selected. See, perform audit procedures appropriate to the purpose. If audit procedure is not applicable to selected item, the auditor shall perform audit procedure on replaceable item. What is this replacement item? Let's say, for example, you are auditing or you are performing audit procedure on payments. Okay, you are verifying whether all the payments that has happened through the check have been authorized by proper officer or not. For that, what you will do, you will take all these checks and you will verify whether they have been properly authorized or not. So you have, see, there are some 10,000 checks. Okay, you cannot verify all 10,000 checks. So what you will do, you will randomly select some, randomly or by applying any method, you will select a sample of checks. Okay, you have selected some 100 checks, and on these 100 checks you will apply audit procedures. Now in these sample checks, one of the check is cancelled. Okay, so on cancelled check you cannot perform audit procedure, right? So this becomes a replacement item. Okay, you have to replace this cancelled check with another check. Okay, you have to take this cancelled check out of the sample and include another check from the population into the sample and perform audit procedure on that replacement item. That is known as replacement item. So whenever audit procedure is not applicable to selected item, okay, for this cancelled check the audit procedure is not applicable. Why it is not applicable? Because cancelled check, it will not be authorized by anyone, right? So you have to perform audit procedure on replacement item. Next, if auditor is unable to apply designed audit procedure or suitable alternate procedure to a selected item, treat that item as deviation or misstatement. If let's say auditor is not able to apply audit procedure on the selected item, okay, on one of the sample item auditor is not able to apply audit procedure, it is not that audit procedure is not applicable to that item. Okay, audit procedure is applicable to that item. Okay, if audit procedure is not applicable to that item, then that becomes a replacement item. But in this situation, audit procedure is applicable to that item, but auditor is not able to apply the procedure on that item. In such a situation, you have to treat it as deviation or misstatement. Okay, deviation in case of control, misstatement in case of amount or item. Hope that is clear. So you have performed audit procedure. Next step number 3. What is step number 3? Nature and cause of deviation. You have to evaluate the deviation or misstatement. Why this deviation has occurred? What is the cause of this deviation? What is the nature of this deviation? See, investigate the nature and cause of any deviation or misstatement identified and evaluate their possible effect. Okay, why this deviation has occurred? If there is this much deviation, how much deviation will be there in the entire population? You need to see that. Okay, you need to evaluate the cause and nature. If deviation or misstatement is anomaly, what is meant by anomaly? Anomaly means rare. That means, see, in the sample that you have selected, there is a misstatement, and this misstatement is anomaly. That means this misstatement is rare. It is present just in the sample. Auditor is sure that this type of misstatement will not be present anywhere in the population. It has just occurred in this sample only. Okay, it will for sure 100% it will not be there in the sample. Okay, it has this misstatement just has occurred in this sample that I have selected only. Then such a misstatement will be known as anomaly. Okay, you cannot project this anomaly to entire population because this misstatement will not be there in entire population. It has just occurred in the sample only. Okay, that is known as anomaly. So if deviation or misstatement is an anomaly, perform audit procedure to obtain high degree of certainty that it is not representative of the population. Okay, if auditor feels that this misstatement is a anomaly, then auditor has to obtain high degree of confidence that this misstatement is 100% anomaly only, it is not present in the entire population. Okay, that confidence auditor has to obtain if he feels that the misstatement is an anomaly. Hope that is clear. See, anomaly, a misstatement or deviation that is demonstrably not representative of misstatement or deviation in the population. Hope you understood. Next, step 4 is you will project the misstatement to the entire population. See, projecting misstatement. In case of test of details auditor shall project misstatement found in the sample to the population. I have told you na, in a sample of 100 items there is 10 misstatements. Then in the entire population of 1000 items, how many misstatements will be there? 100 misstatements will be there. That is projecting misstatements to the population. Okay, such projection can be made in case of misstatement in amounts or items, right? But in case of deviation in the control, you cannot project, because the deviation will be measured in percentage terms. Okay, misstatement will be measured in number terms. Okay, there is one misstatement, two misstatement, three misstatement, 10 misstatements, like this. In number terms you will measure misstatements, so you can project misstatements to entire population. But deviation in control is measured in percentage terms. If let's say there is a 10% deviation in the controls, in the sample of controls that you have tested, then if you project this 10% to entire population of controls, then also it will be 10% only, because it is the rate of deviation, right? You are measuring the deviation in controls in percentage terms. So even if you project this deviation rate to the entire population, the rate will not change, the percentage will remain same. Okay, so for test of controls need not project the deviation rate, because deviation rate will be same for the entire population also. Okay, if for the sample of controls deviation rate is 10%, means for population also the deviation rate will be 10% only. Hope that is clear. Note, if misstatement has been established as anomaly, exclude it when projecting misstatement to population. This I have already told you. Okay, if auditor feels that misstatement is an anomaly, you should not project that anomaly to entire population, because anomaly itself means that it will not be present in the entire population. This type of misstatement will not be present in the entire population, so you should not project this misstatement to the entire population. Okay, so you have projected the misstatement. Next, step number 5, you will evaluate the sample results. See, evaluating the results of audit sampling. Evaluate whether use of audit sampling has provided reasonable basis for conclusion about the population that has been tested. Okay, you will evaluate whether the use of sample is useful to the auditor. Okay, whether the audit procedures that has been performed on the audit sample has provided true picture of entire population or not. Okay, you have to evaluate the results of audit sampling. That is the 5th step. If you feel that the results of audit sampling are not representative of entire population, then you will select some more sample from the population, or you will choose to perform audit procedures on the entire population. Okay, that decision you will take based on evaluation of results of audit sampling. Hope that is clear. This is the 5th step. By this we have completed revision of essay 530